Okay, I got something really special for you today. It's a Masters of the Universe Battlefield Warriors Battle Armor He-Man and Battlecat. It's got like a really nice piece of artwork at the top here. You might have noticed this package is gigantic. Like, check this out. I actually took a picture of it, and I'll try to throw it up here if I can figure out how to do that. And that way you can be looking at it at home. But if not, go check out my Facebook page, and I'll probably have a picture of it up there. You can check it out. And I put it on top of the box for Castle Grayskull, and it's like covering up like most of the box. Like you could just barely see like the top and sides of Castle Grayskull peeping around this gigantic box. Like I can't even really properly get into the shot with it. So like it kind of spares you seeing my ugly mug. But but isn't that a nice piece of artwork at the top with He-Man and Battlecat? And you can see they based it very much on this alternate head that came in here. Isn't that head great? We'll get a better look at that later. But you can see that mine's kind of warped at the top, which is probably why this was the only one that was left at my Target. This is a Target exclusive. So hopefully it will be maybe not as plentiful as the Rise of Evil 2-packs, which are now like just all over the place. So if you don't have one of those, get out there and buy one right now. It's really awesome. But yeah, this is a pretty special set because as you can see, He-Man is actually got like this kind of chrome armor. If I can reach to point at him, he's got this chrome armor that's really cool, and he's got a whole power sword, which is not that common. I believe so far the only whole silver power sword we've gotten has been with the San Diego exclusive. And there's going to be one coming out on the single carded with the vintage head, but I haven't seen that yet. I know some people have had those trickling into their stores, but here in Georgia, I haven't seen them yet. So you know how it is. Like I have this theory that, excuse me, sorry, I had pizza for lunch. It comes in from like the West Coast, and then like passes through the whole country, and then does this pincer thing where it goes up north and goes down south, like up to like Maine and Florida, and then slowly comes back down to Georgia. And that's how we got our stuff in Georgia. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Anyway, let me go ahead and open this sucker up. Well, first let's look at the artwork. I always seem to want to forget to look at the artwork, but let's do that. So we got like this nice tableau on the back with, we got Too Bad. So hopefully we'll get a figure of him soon. And some kind of purple ape creature. I don't know who that is. We got Skeletor riding Panther. We got Faker riding Copycat. Which, as far as I know, Copycat is only supposed to be like an exclusive figure, so hopefully that means we'll get like a full release of Copycat at some point. Yeah, He-Man riding Battlecat, and He-Man's hair is all mussed, which I'm guessing is supposed to be, again, a reference to that new alternate head that's really cool. Man-at-Arms, and a character that at first I thought was Teela, but now I'm thinking is actually a different character. She looked very similar to Teela, so at first I thought it was just Teela wearing a helmet, but then as I looked closer at her, I noticed a lot of other differences too. Like, I thought this was a white outfit when I first looked at it, and that the blue was just shading, but when I got to take a closer look at it, now I believe that it actually is supposed to be a blue outfit. So this is probably supposed to be some kind of new character. But let's go ahead and open it up. This is an awkward thing to deal with. So there's a piece of tape right here. Cut that. And that's the only piece of tape that was holding that together. Let's see, I guess we could take a look at... There's the frog guy on the side here. And there's one of these little gargoyles over here. And I should read what's on the back. It says, individually, they are a force to be reckoned with. But together in combat, He-Man and Battlecat are unstoppable. Yeah, they look pretty badass. And then it's got the demonstration on how to do the action features. You know, we've already seen this on the other battle armor figures, but it shows you how to do the battle armor feature on He-Man. It says place Battlecat on display stand, or Castle Grayskull display stand, and the gargoyles attached to Castle Grayskull. So that's kind of neat. I noticed that this display stand is actually in 2 parts. And it looks like, to me, most of the people that I've seen do this online, they'd been putting the 2 parts together and then standing Battlecat on that. But it looks to me like Battlecat might can just stand on one part of this stand, so you could maybe use the other stand for something else. Maybe put Panther on it. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But let me go ahead and cut all the little rubber bands and tabs and everything they got here holding these figures in. And we will have a closer look at He-Man and Battlecat. Now, Battlecat is pretty much the same, at least as far as I can tell, to the wide release version, with a couple of exceptions, which I'm going to discuss with you right now. And one is that you notice that with the original Battlecat, his armor is much more of a matte red, and this new Battlecat, his armor is more pearlescent and shiny. So it's a little fancier. It's not quite as chrome as He-Man's armor is, but it still kind of fits in with the theme of making it a little more metallic. And so I don't even know if I'd go quite so much as to say this is metallic, but it's definitely pearlescent. The other difference that you notice right away is that he's got like these kind of blood stains all over him. So, Battlecat, is that your blood? Some of it! So, and it looks like the stripe pattern is about the same, but the stripes appear a lot more solid on this one. This one, they kind of have the look almost like they're airbrushed on there, like the original toy. But this one looks more sort of like they were stenciled on there. That's just my perspective on that. Overall, I gotta be honest, I'm not that impressed with like the bloody stuff, and I think I probably would have rather they left that off. I think that the pearlescent armor would have been something, you know, special enough for this set. But I don't think that's that big a deal, because we all know it's not that hard to get the regular Battlecat right now. So if you wanted just to have, like, a regular, non-bloody Battlecat with some pearlescent armor, you know, go pick up an extra Battlecat off of Amazon for, like, $20, and just slap this armor on him. So, alright, let's take a look at the next parts of our set. First, I'm going to cut out the stands. Get that out of there. Looks like one rubber band is holding on both ends of the front end of that stand and the back end of the other stand. There we go. And now I have the whole stand out. And you can see how they fit together. But we're not going to put it together just yet, because I'm going to test my theory and see what Battlecat looks like, just kind of standing on that part of the stand. And it does stand on it pretty well. It's pretty narrow, and it's obviously made to fit, like, you know, the figure is supposed to fit onto both parts of the stand. But if you really wanted to, I think you could probably give one half to Battlecat and one half to Panther. I think you could get away with that. Yeah. Just like that. And you can maybe even... Oh, don't want to drop him on the keyboard. You can maybe even fit one more figure to stand back here. Like maybe Orko, you could probably get to go on there. Or somebody. Just standing around behind Battlecat. So the stand's pretty cool. Battlecat's alright. Let's go ahead and put the stand together. Just so I've got one solid piece. And it clicks together nicely. There's like kind of almost like these sort of puzzle kind of tabs on the bottom there, so it all fits together. And it's the same color green as Castle Grayskull, so I guess it's supposed to be the rocks out in front of it. Alright, and then let's go ahead and pull out little gargoyles, and god damn it, even they've got rubber bands on it. This is not a show for kids. There we go. One of the gargoyles had a rubber band around him. It might have been around both of them, and I just kind of cut them. These are two different sculpts, which I thought was kind of funny, because I thought they could have gotten away with just releasing one of these twice. You know, but one of them has wings and one of them doesn't. One of them has spines, the other one doesn't. And even though the poses are pretty similar, they're not exactly the same. And I could tell that even just looking at them in the box. But there's a closer look for you. For now, I'll set those over there so don't get lost. And last but not least, we have He-Man himself. And this is the part of the set I was looking forward to the most. So I'm saving it for last. First, let's get the accessories out of there. So, Battle Axe. Silver Battle Axe. I've got Battle Armor He-Man right here, so we can compare the two Battle Axes. And they both look pretty similar, but I think that this one is actually like, I don't know if it's going to show up in the camera, it looks like it is. This one is like a slightly lighter shade of silver plastic, and this one's slightly darker. So that's interesting. And where does sword go? Because I'm going to want to compare those two. Even though one of them is a solid sword and one of them is a half sword, it's still going to be interesting to compare them, I think. And somewhere around here, yeah, I had a He-Man shield. And the one from this set is silver. And the one from the regular He-Man figure, of course, is gray. The original Battle Armor He-Man did not come with a shield, just like the vintage one didn't. And I noticed that the orange is slightly darker on the silver shield. So that's interesting to see. Alright. So then, pardon me. I had to go stop the cat from doing something. Alright, so let's see. If I can get He-Man out of here. He-Man does not have any rubber bands holding him into the package, so that's a good thing. I always like to extend my gratitude to toy makers who avoid using rubber bands and tabs and things to hold the figures into packages. And even though there were a lot in this package already, you know, they were kind enough to not putting on He-Man, so he came out of the package rather easily. And this is the vintage head sculpt that's on here already. Wow, look at that shine. Isn't that cool? Like, the monitor's like really making him light up. He looks like something out of the movie Excalibur. How cool is that? Alright, so I'm going to set him aside real quick so I can get the other parts out of here. And these are going to be kind of tricky because they seem to be pretty well embedded in the plastic. I'm going to just start with the sword because I have a feeling that's going to be the easiest one. Oh, hey, they actually had like a little indent for your finger to fit into so you can get that sword out a little easier. And there we go. Sword of Power. A solid Sword of Power. And if I compare it to the other one that we've gotten from Origins, the half sword, you can see that like the axe, it's a slightly lighter shade of silver, but also what surprises me is that this one is a little more matte than the half sword. The half sword actually has like a little bit more of a sort of glossiness to the blade, and this part's kind of matte, but the whole sword of this one is more matte than the half sword. So let's see, he's got a little slot in the back where you can put the sword in there, just like with the other Battle Armor figure. And it fits in there, I think, better than the half sword does. But still, it's like you don't want to press it in there too hard because that's hard plastic, and you don't want it to cut into the plastic of the whole sword blade, especially since this isn't that common a piece yet. It will be more common once that vintage head figure comes out. Speaking of heads, we've still got this head to get out of here. And this hand. Alright. Now that I've gotten these pieces out, this is the flat hand that we've seen in a lot of figures. It does look a little veinier to me than I'm used to it looking. Let's compare it to this. Yeah, it's maybe about as veiny. But it isn't quite as warped as some of these hands are, which is kind of surprising because it was embedded in that plastic. You would think if any of these would be warped, it would be this one. But no, this is a pretty perfect looking hand. And then here's the other head where he's yelling. And this is much better than the other yelling head that we got with the first Battle Armor He-Man, because for one thing, it's made to look like the vintage head sculpt. I think it's just one of those things where like they scanned the vintage head sculpt in and kind of changed the expression in the computer digitally, and that worked out pretty well. I wish they'd done that with the original He-Man head in this line. That would have been pretty cool. But look, the way he's got that windswept hair, it makes it perfect for this. If we just want to, let me go ahead and reset the, we all know how that works, so I'm not spoiling anything. Reset the drum. We're going to want to do that in a minute anyway. And we'll pop this head on here. And then we'll put the Sword of Power into his hand. And then, I have the power! Isn't that great? Doesn't that look awesome? That is nice. So this is a great head. This is a good head to have as like an alternate head. It might not be the one that you want to have as like your definitive He-Man on the shelf. That would probably still be this guy. Except for maybe that cut, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But it's still like, you know, for what it is. For like an alternate head. For like a scene-specific kind of head. Oh, that's great, man. That's pretty darn perfect. So let's talk a little bit about the battle damage that's on He-Man. First of all, you do have the battle armor drum on here, so you can hit it with a weapon or your fingertip, and it makes marks in the armor, which of course you can magically make disappear just by rolling the drum back. And voila, he's back to normal. It looks really cool. One thing that I would have done differently is typically with the Battle Armor He-Man, and I'll show you with this one, is when they make the dents in the armor, they paint them like a slightly darker shade of silver so that it gives it a little more of a shading, maybe makes it so some of the shiny finish flaked off of it when it got dented. But with this one, it's still the same shiny finish. And I think it might have been better if they had have, put just a little bit of a black wash into the grooves there. And that might have given him just like, that little bit more of a, made the dents stand out just slightly more. So, but man, he's a great looking figure. Especially with the windswept hair and the yelling, and he's just so dramatic looking. It's really awesome. So he does have, like with Battlecat, he's got some of this bloody stuff on him. And, I wish it weren't there. I really think that this figure deserved to just be like a gleaming, shining He-Man figure. And the blood stains, I think, are kind of incongruous to that. I think that they probably should have instead released a bloody battle damage, battle armor He-Man as like its own thing, separate from this figure, and just had this figure be like a shining knight kind of He-Man. Just make him as heroic as possible. I think that would have been the best thing to do. Now, I know what you're saying. Alan, it's an Origins figure. You've already swapped out the head, and there's no blood on that head, which there is blood on the vintage head. You can clean that off if you want to. Why don't you just swap out the legs and arms? Well, that's a good idea, and I could swap out the legs very easily, but unfortunately, since this is Battle Armor He-Man, you can't switch out his arms. These are the arms that are in there forever, So he's always going to have that blood stain. If this was one where you could switch out the arms, I wouldn't mind the blood stains at all. I would think it was brilliant. I would switch him on to a regular He-Man figure and then have a nice battle damaged He-Man figure with like the regular armor. But with the battle armor, it's stuck that way forever. Unless you do what I'm going to do and you take a Q-tip and a little bit of acetone and just wipe that sucker right off. And if you do, I advise you to be very careful that you don't get any on this chrome finish because you don't want to ruin that. And I don't know what effect acetone would have on that. Back in the old days when I was a kid, if you had a figure like this, it would have been vacuum formed. Now I believe they use electroplating, which is a bit sturdier. But I'm still not sure how acetone would affect that, and I don't want to find out that badly. If you know, put something in the comments below, because I'd like to hear back about that. But yeah, be very careful when you remove that blood with the acetone like I'm going to do, because you don't want to ruin the chrome finish. That's the whole point of this figure. Man, he's cool looking. I'm pretty happy with that. So, I guess that's pretty much it for right now. But I do want to go ahead and just say one more thing about it being a chromed action figure. And, you know, if you're somebody that is of my age, you grew up in the 80s, in the 90s, there were a lot of chromed action figures, and they were always something pretty special. But they're not as common nowadays anymore. I guess maybe the process is just too expensive to justify putting on action figures these days. But, you know, when I was a kid, even though it was something pretty special, it was still pretty common. Like, you know, any R2-D2 or C-3PO figure that you could get were going to have, you know, chrome finishes like that on them. And nowadays, it's just so rare to see. But it really, to me, made this He-Man figure stand out. And it was a thing that even though, you know, he's part of a fairly expensive exclusive set, because, you know, it's not more expensive than the price of a regular, I mean, for what it is, it's a good deal, because for, like, about the same price that you'd pay for, like, a regular Battle Armor He-Man and a regular Battlecat, you get a special edition of each of those figures. Granted, the He-Man figure is the more impressive of the two, but that's probably how it should be. You get both of those, you get the two little gargoyle critters, and you get an extra weapon that Battle Armor He-Man didn't come with in the first place, and you get the stand that Battlecat can stand on. And, you know, why don't we, right now, while I'm thinking about it, before we leave, let's go ahead and, just for funsies, is that the right? That's the wrong one. I want the shiny Battlecat. Let's put him on the stand. Just to see what it looks like. We'll put him on the stand. So this is supposed to give you kind of like a rearing up kind of position. So that's nice. And then we'll put He-Man on there, because, like, we really should see the whole thing all together before we head out. I know somebody would feel like they were ripped off if I didn't do that. But yeah, that's pretty impressive. I think I'm going to leave him like that on my shelf. He's pretty cool. So, but yeah, I'd like to see more chrome type action figures in the future. In fact, why not do another set like this with Panther? And that would be cool. That would be another way to get a flocked Panther out there for people who weren't able to get the Walmart version. And maybe make his base like Snake Mountain colored instead, that sort of purple rock. And Skeletor could have like purple chrome armor. And that would be really cool. So that would be a nice follow-up to this. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this time. I've already talked for almost like a half an hour, and like I think that's probably put most people's litmus for listening to me talk about He-Man action figures. But if you did enjoy this, please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff below so you can see more videos like this, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you. Goodbye.